Welcome to Law Excellence Hindu News Analysis. Today we are going to cover these 5 topics that are appeared in the Hindu newspaper. Right? Now coming to the first article. Now this article is saying that Bhutan pitches Gelefu as the biggest cooperative project. Now what is the context of the news? The context of the news is recently a global cooperative conference was conducted in Delhi. Now in this conference, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Bhutan Prime Minister was also attended. Now, in this context, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the importance of cooperative societies, especially as a part of the development process, especially sustainable development. Now, in this article, there are certain things mentioned which can be important for multiple syllabus topics. For example, in GS paper 2, there is a topic of role of non-state actors, in which cooperative societies are also part of non-state actors that can contribute in the development process. Right? This Gelefu project is in the taking contribution from the India also. You can use this as an example in international relations, India, Bhutan neighborhood relations, right? Now, this Gelefu is a city in Bhutan. Now, remember that Gelefu is in Bhutan. Now, UPSC may ask that Gelefu is recently seen in the news is a city in which country? It is in Bhutan. Okay. Now, it is being said that this is a city that has to be developed on a sustainable model. That means it's a green city. Now that's why this is called as zero carbon city. Now it is clearly mentioned that it is a zero carbon city. Now for development of this, India is also contributing financially in developing its infrastructure. Now this Bhutanese Prime Minister saying that India is contributing and it is also pitching for in private investments through collaborations for investing in the capital infrastructure in the Bhutan. Now remember the facts that from the IR perspective, India is the largest trading partner for Bhutan. And not only that, 50% of the FDI for Bhutan is coming from India. Okay, you can use these points in the JS paper to IR perspective. Now, this article mentions certain importance of the cooperative sector. Now, it is being said that in India, there are around 8 lakh cooperatives across the country. Now, this article mentioned, especially Prime Minister mentioned that there is a need of global financial institutions to finance these cooperatives because cooperatives are mainly formed by the people in the villages, semi-urban areas, farmers, women. So they are all face difficulties in getting the credit. Now we need a global institutions to provide credit at lower interest, collateral-free loans, things like that. Now the Prime Minister also mentioned that there is a need of making this cooperative financially resilient, climate resilient, and adopt a circular economy because they majorly work in the areas of greenery, especially agriculture, milk cooperatives, sugar cooperatives, things like that. Now, this development of cooperatives lead to inclusive development also. This is what mentioned. Why it is mentioned? Because most of the cooperatives are formed by the farmers, women. Now, that is what in this article mentioned. Now, it is also mentioned that in India recently there are steps taken to modernize the PACs. What is meant by PAC? Primary Agricultural Credit Societies, which is in the village level cooperative societies, right? Now there are computerization, economically viable things like that are happening at the primary agricultural credit societies. Now from the examination perspective, you have to know certain things from the cooperatives, right? We will discuss that. And before that, let us see the map because UPSC has a habit of which of the following states bordering things like that. Okay, now you see Bhutan is bordering Indian states such as Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, West Bengal. These are the 4 states that are bordered by the Bhutan. Now remember this from the prelims perspective. Okay. Now we will see certain things from the prelims perspective about the cooperatives also. Now if you see cooperatives, it was asked in previous years also that in the Indian governance system, what is the role of non-state actors and what are the challenges in them? Now this is asked in one of the 2016 mains question JS paper 2. Now it is also said that in the villages itself, no form of credit organization will be suitable except the cooperative societies. All India Rural Credit Survey said this and discussed this statement in the background of agriculture finance in India. What are the constraints and challenges to financial institutions in supplying agriculture finance? Now this is one of the question regarding cooperative societies again. Now, in that way, it is very important. Now, we will see certain things from the prelims perspective. Now, remember that cooperative society is part of the state list. Now, if a cooperative is related to the multi-state, there is a Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act of 2002, right? Now, another important is this cooperative society is given a constitutional status with the 97th Constitutional Amendment Act. Now, this made formation of cooperative societies a fundamental right under Article 19. This also added an article in DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy, which creates an obligation on the state under Article 43B to promote the cooperatives This added part 9b. Now remember these facts which can be asked in the prelims examination. Now from the mains perspective, you have to know the importance of cooperatives. Right? First of all, it is important for credit because in rural areas, majorly they won't get institutional credit. What does it mean? Bank loans. So majorly they go to the money lenders. Now they may lead to exploitation, increasing interest rate. Right? So this address the problem of that. Another important thing is consolidation. What is meant by consolidation? You know that in India is facing a problem of fragmentation of land. Most of the people are small and marginal farmers, especially 80% of the farmers in India are small and marginal, having less than 1 hectare of land, right? Now in this context, they don't have, you know, large surplus to market their produce in the outside, right? So that because of the consolidation of land, their produce can be large enough to sell in the open markets. Next, bargaining power. What does it mean? See, when they are collectively represented in the cooperative societies, they can bargain the price of their goods, price of their services. They can bargain in front of the politicians also by forming the representation as a cooperative body, right? It also promotes social coherence, especially at the village level. Now, these are what the benefits. Now, in India, it has been seen that it is initially formed for the credit, but it was now extended to almost all the sectors. You have seen the cooperatives in farmers, cooperatives in milk, cooperatives in sugarcane, right? Now, that is how it is pervasive in nature. Now, what are the challenges? There are another important challenge is limited professionalism, right? Now, decisions in this are taken by single person who is authoritative, especially who is educated. Hence, decisions are non-consensus in nature. Next, political interference. Now, in villages, politics are very huge, especially social politics. Now, political interference is even inevitable in these places. Next, lack of technical and managerial capacities. Now, it is being said that most of the PAC societies or any other corporate societies are lack of digitalization, lack of proper human resources to manage all these things, right? And another important thing is low awareness. Even though there is non-professionalism, but people are less aware about the right to form cooperative societies, importance of cooperative societies. Hence, they are not able to fully utilize the benefits of these cooperative societies. Another important is social and cultural factors. As it is being said, the cooperatives are formed by voluntary group of people, but most of the times it is being seen that these group of people belong to similar social class. Hence, this goal of social cohesion is not realized. Now, these are the challenges. Now, remember these things from both prelims and mains perspective. Now, you can use this example of zero carbon society, zero carbon city of Gelupu in GS paper 3 or GS paper 1 in the development of urban areas. Now, okay, link the like this in a integrated way. Okay. Now, coming to the next article. Now, this article is saying that secular socialist are an inalienable part of the constitution to stay in the preamble order Supreme Court. Now, why Supreme Court ordered this? Now, you know that in the last year, there are few of petitions filed in the Supreme Court to remove the words like secular and socialist that are part of the preamble. Now, what is their argument for removal? Now, they are saying that these words are not included during the time of adoption of constitution, that is around January 1950. Right? Now, if it is not there, then why it was added later? Now, this is not part of the will of the people. Now, it is being said that in India, secularism is part of the civilization. That is our way of life. It should not be included or imposed on the people through the constitution. Now, this is one of the arguments they are saying. Now, another argument is that these words are included during the time of emergency. That is 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. Now, during this time, people's voice are and dissent is curtailed. There is no proper voice to raise. Criticism was curtailed by the government. No, this is the black time or black period during which amendments cannot be realized. Now, this is what their argument. Now, another argument they are saying that misinterpretation. Now, it is being said that in India, secularism is the most misused or a misinterpreted word. Now, this is interpreted as per the Western form of secularism. Now, that is what their argument. Now, another important argument is they are saying that these words like socialism, socialistic nature of the state limits the structure of economy and political mile of the economy. Now, this is what their argument. Now, the court is saying that, first of all, socialism is not an ideology from the perspective of India. It is not about left or right. Because in India, socialism is more about welfare. Socialism as an idea, it's an obligation on the state to provide equal opportunity, social justice, etc. Hence, it is more of a welfare, not about left or right. And it has been said that just because of it is mentioned in the preamble, it is not an imposition on the India's political landscape. Now, this socialistic word does not impose any political structure on India. It does not saying that whether it is follow socialistic or capitalistic or mixed economy. As per the needs of the India, India adopted mixed economy. Now, this is what the argument given by the Supreme Court, and it has been said that preamble is inalienable part of the constitution. So, this secularism is part of the India's way of life. Even though it is mentioned or not, secularism is part of the constitutional values because secularism as an idea involves equal treatment, maintaining plurality, protecting diversity, cultural diversity. All these are part of the constitutional values and constitutional morality. And this way, these arguments are disregarded by the court. Now, the court is saying that now appealing like this after 44 years of constitution amendment, it is questionable. Now, that is what mentioned in this article. Now, from the examination perspective, especially from the mains perspective, this question is very important from the papers of GS paper 2 about secularism, preamble, things like that. For example, it was asked in the mains question also. You can use this things like Keshwanand Bharati case. And another one is SR Bommai case, right? In both of these cases, it is clearly mentioned that secularism is part of the basic structure of the constitution. Okay, remember these both cases from the examination perspective. Now, from prelims perspective, we will know certain facts about the preamble because today is the day of Constitution Day, November 26, 1949, right? Now, we will see certain facts about the preamble which was asked in the previous year questions, right? Now, these are all the questions that were asked in the previous year prelims paper. So, this indicates the importance of preamble as a theme. Now, from the prelims perspective, we will see certain facts about the preamble, what can be asked. For example, first and foremost thing is that preamble is part of the constitution. Remember that in UPSC frame statement that the preamble is not part of the constitution, right? Remember, preamble is amendable. Yes, it is amendable. Now, you know that it was amended in 42nd Constitutional Amendment also, which added three things, that is socialist, secular, integrity. Now, these three are added by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Now, what is the use? It can be used in the interpretation of the Constitution by the Supreme Court. Yes, it can be used. Now, remember this thing, it is not a source of the Constitution, right? The source of the Constitution is people. Now, preamble mentions the source of the Constitution, but preamble is not the source of the Constitution, right? We know that in preamble it has been mentioned that we the people of India. Now, this we the people is the source of the Constitution, right? Okay. Next, it also indicates the nature of the Indian state. What is the nature of the Indian state? Socialist, secular, democratic, republic. Now, all these are the nature of the Indian state. Now, it indicates objectives. What is meant by the objectives? Justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. All these are the objectives mentioned in the preamble. Next, the date of adoption. Preamble mentioned the date of adoption. What is the date of adoption? It is November 26, 1949. Remember another day, that is January 26, 1950. What is the difference between now November 26 is date of adoption, 1950 January 26 Constitution entered into the force from this date. That is the difference. Now, this preamble is based on the objective resolution passed by the Nehru. Now, remember this fact that preamble is non-justiciable independently on its own. Okay. Now, it is neither the source of power nor restriction of power on parliament or legislature. Now, remember these statements, these are very important from the prelims perspective, right? Now, we will try to answer the previous questions. Now, the preamble to the Constitution of India is, now it has been said that part of the Constitution but have no legal effect. Now, this is wrong. Not a part of the Constitution is completely wrong. Just now we have said that Sanjeev Khanna, CJ also said that it's part of the Constitution. Part of the Constitution and have same level like is a wrong statement because just now we have seen that it is non-justiciable independently. It is part of the Constitution but has no legal effect independently of other parts. Yes. Okay. Preamble can be used to support the other articles or legal enactments of the Constitution, right? But it cannot be independently enforceable. Now, this is what the option. Now, mind of the makers of the Constitution is reflected in which of the following? It is preamble. Okay. Now, another important thing is which of the following objectives is not embodied in the Constitution of India? Preamble to the Constitution of India. Now, you know, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship are mentioned in the preamble, not economic liberty. Now, next, economic justice. The objectives of the constitution has been as one of the provided in economic justice as an object is provided in which of the following. Now, it is been said that social, economic, political justice is been mentioned in the preamble. Hence, right? Now, this is eliminated. No, it is not fundamental rights, rather DPSP. No, answer is B. Now, another important PYQ you have to know is this one. What was the exact constitutional status of India on 26 January 1950? Now, this is very analytical in nature. You have to know that. The answer is B. Sovereign Democratic Republic. Why it is like that? Because from 1947 to 1950, India is like a dominion under the British, right? India is not sovereign in that moment. Now, once we adapt to the constitution in 1950, we become sovereign and republic. Okay. Now, these are the things you have to remember from the Plin's perspective. Now, coming to the next article. Now, this article is saying that Cabinet approves next phase of Atal mission. Now, the context of the news is that Cabinet approved Atal Innovation Mission 2.0. Now, from the examination perspective, especially prelims perspective, this article is important because previously it asked that Atal Innovation Mission is under the Minister of which of the following. So, UPSC has a habit of asking schemes, right? Now, this is very important. You have to know that this is a central sector scheme, first of all. And the purpose of the scheme is to promote the culture of innovation and entrepreneurship at all the levels of life. That is at the school level, university level, research institutions, MSMEs, and industrial levels. So that as India is presently being as a rapidly emerging economy, such emerging economy requires a scientific ecosystem, especially research ecosystem, so that the development is reasonable, rational, sustainable, and inclusive. So proper research ecosystem to develop such like that, we need proper support from the government, especially we need scientific temper from the school level, right? Now, this is what the providing that Atal Tinkering Labs, you know that Atal Tinkering Labs and many other labs in the college level, university level are associated with this Atal Innovation Mission. Many MSMEs are also associated with these technological advancements also. Now, the implementing agency is Niti Aayog. Remember this from the prelims perspective. Now, where you can use this in exam, other than the prelims, you can use in JS paper 3. There is always questions are asking about research and development in India regarding IPR policies, intellectual property rights. There you can use this Atal Innovation Mission. Now, recently, you know that Global Innovation Index released. India's rank is 39, improved from 40 last year. Now, this was released by the WIPO, like World Intellectual Property Organization. You can use this thing in JS paper 3 as well, right? Now, remember a point that it is said that India is a top performer in lower middle income countries. Now, this Atal Innovation Mission is also important from another context also. Now, recently, Prime Minister called for a J Anusandhan to promote scientific research development ecosystem, especially in this Amrit Kal. That is Viksit Bharat 2047. In this Amrit Kal, we need development of research and development ecosystem. Now, for that, India recently established Anusandhan National Research Foundation. Now, all these things are important to remember. These bodies can be used as an examples in your answers in GS paper 3. Anusandhan National Research Foundation, this Global Innovation Index, or Atal Innovation Mission. Okay, keep these facts in mind. You can use them in the GS paper 3. Now, coming to the next article. Now, this article is saying that 6,000 crore rupees scheme to help students access journals. Now, what is this article is about? Now, this article is about a scheme called One Nation, One Subscription Scheme. Now, what does it mean? Now, it is about accessing the high quality journals from the international levels to the everyone at one subscription. Now, what is happening presently? Now, these research journals of international level are not able to access by the everyone. Especially, these are limited to the elite institutions such as IITs, IIMs, or any scientific research institutions. Okay, to enable that these are available to everyone inclusively, this One Nation, One Subscription scheme was enacted. Now, remember from the prelims perspective, this is a central sector scheme under the Minister of Education, Department of Higher Education. Right now, once this scheme is enacted, now it is accessible to the higher education, central governments, research and development laboratories. Now, what is the importance of this scheme? Now, before that, remember this body that Information Library Network. This is the coordinated central agency for this scheme. Okay. Okay. Now, it is being said that India lacks a number of patents and publications produced. Now, one of the reasons for this lack of proper awareness about the scientific research developing in other countries. Now, for that, this scheme really helps because this is able to access scientific journals across the world. Now, this helps in promoting the research and development because while accessing these students can develop their own knowledge by reading these articles. They can start researching by getting some of the important information from that. Okay. Now, research articles can be act as a base information. Now, they can develop from them. Okay. Now, there is institutional divide also, especially rural students, urban students. There is a knowledge gap about the research. Now, most of the patents that are seen from the elite institutions such as IITs and research and development laboratories of the government, not from the Tier 2 or Tier 3 colleges, right? No, it prevents all such problems. For example, it said that it democratizes access to high quality research journals. Now, it is being said that India is spending a lot of money, around 1,000 crores in terms of subscription to get. Now, this 1,000 crores is a burden for the people, especially social and economic backgrounds, backward students, right? So, this address the issue of financial constraints. Now, these benefit government universities, private colleges, research institutions, students, faculties, researchers equally. Now, it is mentioned that it addresses institutional divide. Just now we said that there is institutional divide in India. It mitigates the rural and urban divide in terms of rural students and urban students, in terms of knowledge gap, and all these things problems were addressed. Now, again, similarly, this scheme can be used in GS paper 3 also, okay? Not only from the prelims perspective. In GS paper 3, intellectual and property rights thing, you can use that also, okay? Now, coming to the next article. Now, this article is saying that Constitution still thrives. Let it show India the way. Now, what is the context of this article? Now, this month is marking the 75th anniversary of adoption of the Constitution. Now, in this context, the author recalled certain objectives mentioned by the Ambedkar speech, and Ambedkar himself identified certain challenges in the Indian Constitution. Now, the author mentioned all those things, right? Now, how far we achieved the objectives of the Constitution over the time. Now, these are what they mentioned in this article. Now, this article is important, especially there are some interesting points mentioned in this article. You can use them as an introduction or conclusions in the answers of GS paper 2, GS paper 4, in the essay also. Okay. Now, the first and foremost, the author started with this with Ambedkar's statement. Ambedkar said that, however good a constitution may be, it end up as a bad if those who are working on it are bad. However bad a constitution is, it can end up as a good if the people who are amending it or working on it are good. That means he is talking about political parties and people, because it is the leaders that are amending the constitution, right? If these people are good enough, have good values, morality, especially constitutional morality, constitution can be end up good. Now this is what. Now this is where the article starts. Okay, now we'll analyze certain things, certain points from the mains perspective. Now, firstly, as Ambedkar said this thing, the article also mentioned that if people are properly rational and reasonable, if they demand good things, legislators also enact good laws. If legislators are good enough, they will implement properly. Now, in this way, constitution also adapt as per the contemporary needs of the constitution. Now, this is what the crux of this. Next, the author mentioned that there is a sustainable amendments of the constitution, because the custodians, that is politicians, are the custodians, because they will amend. Now, as Ambedkar said that if political persons are reasonable enough, the amendments of the constitution will also be rational. Now, certain challenges that the Ambedkar mentioned during his speech of the Constitutional Assembly is mentioned in this article. That is, Ambedkar mentioned that there is complete absence of equality and fraternity in the Indian society. Why he said like that? Because he said there is political equality in India with independence. That is, there is one man, one vote, one value. Now we follow equality at political level. Now it is for the power sharing mechanism or whatever the reasons. But we are not following this principle of one man, one value at the social and economic level. Now that is why we have seen the situations of economic inequality. Now it is being said that even today also, that is, one person is holding 40% of wealth. Caste discriminations are here. So people are not changing in terms of the social and economic level. Now that is what it is saying. That's why in this context, Ambedkar said that to achieve and realize the political democracy, we need social democracy at its base. Now I will explain this. For example, let's say we have political democracy. We all have the right to participate and contest in the elections. But how many of you are confident that you can win in the elections? Because there are a lot of factors, social factors such as caste, money factors, fame, all these are matters. So political democracy is there, but to vote In a neutral way, we need social democracy. So to properly realize this political democracy, we need social democracy. Political democracy also provides us rights such as equal opportunities in the employment, right? But we need social and economic democracy also, because even though we have employment opportunities, we need skill. For that skill, we need certain economic base, right, to train and skill, upskill or education. No, all these are the reasons. That's why he said. Now, one of the important thing Ambedkar mentioned as a major problem, he always says that a caste system. Now, because of the caste system, which is pervasive in nature, it is difficult to achieve the social and economic equality in India. That's why Ambedkar called for annihilation of the caste. That means removal of the caste system at all, completely. Now, that is what Ambedkar mentioned. Now, another important thing Ambedkar mentioned, that why this political and social democracy has to be there, because Ambedkar said that the trinity of rights, that is, there should be liberty, equality, and fraternity, which are all intertwined. They cannot be separate them. Because, for example, let's say you have liberty, but there is no equality. What happens? The people who are strong enough will superimpose their will on you, right? Let's say if there is equality, but there is no liberty, you have to conform to the collective norms. That means it cut the innovation, right? Things like that. So fraternity will only come if there is. So fraternity means brotherhood. Now it is being said that unless and until there is a caste system, there won't be a fraternity or feeling of brotherhood as per the Ambedkar, because he always say that when there is the fusion of blood, that is intercaste marriages, things like that, then only there is a sense of brotherhood, kith and kin, something like that. Now, what are the changes that have happened? Now, Ambedkar also said that because of this caste system, the sense of feeling of nation is also hampered. Now, this is what the Ambedkar mentions certain challenges in the constitution. Now, author is saying that what are the things that are changed after 75 years? The author said that equality has advanced to a certain extent. Now, this can be seen in terms of providing affirmative actions through reservations, abolition of untouchability. Right, we have legal frameworks such as ST, Atrocity Act, things like that. We have maintained the equality, right? Now, another important thing mentioned is that social and economic equality is far from complete. Why it is being said like that? Because we know there are discriminations are happening. For example, in India, still there is a lack of dignity of labor, right? We often attach people and their occupation certain status, who are earning more, who are having social status are more. For example, certain jobs, like we don't respect people who are selling something on the roadside, things like that. We respect bureaucrats, things like that. So this social and economic equality is far from complete. Now, recently there is an incident of a children is beaten to death by the teacher in Rajasthan. Caste conflicts are still happening. Hence, the author is saying that this social and economic equality is far from complete. Now, author also said that there is an escalation of demand for caste census, also indicating that in the nearby situation, caste cannot be eliminated. Now, especially in the sense of this political mile, because of the political challenges, politicians cannot dare to abolish the caste system, because Ambedkar's main dream was to abolish the caste system, but because of things of the reservation and all these things, in fact, this caste system as such reinforced. Now, that is what mentioned in this article. Another important thing mentioned is the author said that accepted that there is a sense of nationhood promoted in India over the time, because the author mentioned certain examples of cricket matches in India. Though we fight regionally based on the language or culture, but we collectively support India as a team. We celebrate Indian Army in the form of Kargil. If any issue happen in Galwan region, no, we support Indian Army. In this way, there is a sense of nationhood developed in India. Okay. Next important thing author mentioned was there is promotion of equality in India. Equality is promoted, but fraternity is undermined. Now, this can be seen in terms of certain people are poor in India, certain people are rich, certain people are not able to educate. There is issues of child labor. There are prosperity children who are going to the costly colleges, schools, etc. Hence, this feeling of brotherhood is lacked in India. Now, that is what author is saying. Another important thing is that now author mentioned that this Mandal Commission recommendation, especially promoted representation of political system rather than removing the caste system as such, because this is against the Ambedkar's goal. That is what mentioned. But the end, author said that earlier during the time of independence, we have English, that is Britishers, to blame for the situation of us. Now it has been 75 years. There is no one to blame except for ourselves. Now we have to change these conditions of social, economic, and political landscape in India by proper functioning of the constitution. Now this is what this article mentioned. Now you can use these things in the essay GS4, things like that. For example, political and social democracy, you can use in GS paper 2, GS4 also. Okay, and in essay you can use the statement of however good is constitution. If persons who are amending it or political leaders are not good, then constitution can be bad. No, this can be used in the essay also. Okay, like this you have to integrate the syllabus and current affairs. Thank you. Have a nice day.